A warm welcome and hello on today's Golden Muse show. Another episode about holistic health and healing. And on today's show, I'm delighted. I've got Bridgette Hamilton. Hello, Bridgette.
Hi, Chrisoula. Nice to see you again.
Lovely to have you on this platform because you have already been on the radio show I host on Thursdays, the Health and Healing. And this time we're going to be talking about something that you must be really proud of because you must have put a lot of time and energy to create and publish your own book. Congratulations. Fantastic. Look at this. So the book is called The Break the Crave System. 7 Steps to Effortless Lifelong Weight Loss by Bridgette Hamilton. Hey. So my personal feeling about it and my perspective in it, the way, because I have read, luckily and fortunately, have read a number of books and have interviewed a number of authors as well. But the way that I connect with the book is that what stands you apart as a nutritionist and somebody who is supporting people and empowering people through weight loss and understanding more of how the body works is your practical approach, but also your connection with physiology and anatomy and the way the nervous system works, which is something that it gave me like the aha moment. And I said, oh, now I understand how this works with that. And then I got into more of a sort of another level, if you like. So yes, I'm looking forward to our conversation because I guess everybody has been in that kind of situation when we are craving for things and we don't know how to stop from eating. It could be sugary stuff, chocolate stuff, or drinking stuff, or so. So on today's show, Bridgette is going to take us through to understand what craving is and how can we actually understand how craving works in our bodies and how you can learn not only to control but more to be in tune with your own body. And that's for me, that's the critical part of it. It's not just a quick fix, it's actually how you can bring that into your everyday life and you can use it as an adult, but also you can bring into your children's well-being as well and their own nutrition habits. So, and I guess there will be much more, but that's the overall thing. And then let's go with the flow, shall we? Yes?
Sounds great. Sounds like a good idea.
So
to it, isn't there? From what from hearing your description there about the crave and how it works in our bodies and how it works in our nervous system, it sounds like it's a really, really big subject when it's put out there like that. But actually, the actual feeling of craving itself is such a tiny little thing, and it's such a tiny little trigger in our nervous system. I think the trouble with it and the reason why we have so much trouble controlling it is because it is such a tiny little message. It's the opposite of that feeling that we get in our nervous system that comes from the same place. It comes from our fight or flight triggers in our brain, which is survival. And that there's a little gland in our brain that looks for threat all day. It's like a little radar, and it literally just looks for threat all day, sends this message down into a place in your it's actually called your solar plexus, so it's just below your ribs, and it's a huge bundle of nerves there, massive bundle of nerves, and it sends this alarm message down and gets us to run away from spiders or whatever our particular phobia might be, as well as feel stress when the threat is too much pressure, or anxiety when this threat can often be just too much going on in life. People can actually get that threat message that can become so strong that it becomes panic attacks when we really feel overloaded with trauma. So in a way, it's the most dominant gland that we have in our brain, this fight or flight gland. It is utterly you are unable to ignore it. This is how it's designed. You are absolutely unable to ignore it. You have to listen to it. And anybody who has a panic attack or who suffers anxiety long term will say that it runs the show for them. Mm-hmm. So although it might sound like a big subject, actually the craving itself is the opposite of that. The craving message that comes from the same place, your fight or flight mechanism in the brain, is actually a really, really tiny message, which is really why I wrote the book, because that particular message often goes under the radar for a lot of us.
Yes. So let's understand how we can actually reclaim, as you call it, reclaim your body, right back to where it belongs. That's one part of almost at the beginning of the start of your book.
Yeah.
So how does your body go into craving then? How does it work like that?
Well, as far as food cravings are concerned, there's a crave message, no matter what the craving is, whether it's for alcohol or, whether it's for other substances as well. The craving is in the same place in your solar plexus, but also food craving is exactly the same place. Mm-hmm. And we go into crave in 3 different ways as far as food's concerned. So bearing in mind that what the crave is a kind of a warning message from your brain that you are not feeding yourself properly. Yeah. Okay, so this is the basis of it. It's very sensible. It's a very sensible kind of a message. So the 3 ways that we go into crave are either by not eating enough in the day, starving ourselves, you might say, not eating enough calories in the day, or you might also call that being on a diet for a lot of us. So if you go on a calorie controlled diet, you don't take in enough calories in the day, then your body, your nervous system, this little gland in your brain will pick up that there's a threat of starvation. Mm-hmm. So either not eating enough in the day, sugar addiction. If you eat sugar, believe it or not, the trouble with sugar is that your brain doesn't actually register that you've eaten. So you eat sugar, and especially if you have got a bit of a sugar thing going on and you're a bit of a sugar girl, so you're replacing the calories that you might have, taken in by eating a proper meal. So that's, again, you're starving yourself again, but actually sugar itself and sugar addiction triggers crave. And also processed food. Right. So processed food has the crave designed into it. Processed food in all kinds of different ways. They have the food science and the food technology now, has crave written into processed food. So what you're saying is that without realizing what we choose to eat, this processed food has already got a lot of sugar in it, and it hasn't got the right amount of nutrients that sends a signal to the brain that actually, yes, now you can start processing the right type of food. Right? Yeah, in a way, but actually, do you know something? It's more subtle than that. So the food manufacturers will play around with the texture of food. Uh-huh. If the texture of food is created in a certain way, again, it bypasses your brain. So in a nutshell, I was going to say, not so good for you, but basically what it does, your body will pull that food through so quickly that your brain doesn't register that you've eaten. And that happens with texture, and it happens with the way it actually behaves in your digestive system, and all kinds of different elements of that processed food. Yeah, the sugar being a part of it as well a lot of the time. But once the fat is taken out of processed food, then that, again, we're getting no nutrition there. So your brain doesn't switch on. It's a hormone called leptin that we actually switch on when we feel satisfied. If that's not switched on, then you keep eating and eating. It's called this unfillable feeling. And I'm sure that, your listeners who've encountered eating particular foods where they feel like they just can't stop eating, even though they know they're full. Okay. And even though they know it's time to stop, and they carry on and on, because actually their body hasn't registered that they've actually eaten that food. So they go on and eat far more calories actually than their body needs. And so it could be like something cracking, like crisps or something like that. Yeah, that's a real classic one. And I get it why it gets like, you can just devour it, and then it's just a very very quick sort of fix, but it doesn't really
fill you up in
Not at
a
all.
nutritional
Yeah.
way, you know, okay.
Not in the slightest. And actually, you know, there was a documentary about a particular crisps. I won't say which ones, but their advert says, once you pop, you can't stop. And, and the way it was actually designed so that it melted in your mouth.
Yes.
And it had to keep going back to the lab and being redesigned until the texture was just so that you ate this food and it melted in your mouth, and you're still absorbing the fat from it, but your brain doesn't know that you've eaten. So people will say that they can eat the whole packet and not until it's gone.
It's very, very cleverly done, isn't it?
Very,
the way it's camouflaged like that.
Absolutely. So you can eat all of this processed food and still feel starving.
Okay.
Literally.
The other thing that probably you can bring it up now or a bit later is how the importance of having a good dose of fat in our diet.
Yeah.
And why having all the processed food actually stops from the right metabolism to happen, and that's how we gain weight.
Exactly.
That's how I got it. Okay, that's why I understood.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty much. I mean, what we do know now, it's interesting actually. I think even in the last 6 months or so, we're really starting to realise that the low fat myth, the bubble is bursting there. And it's almost becoming a bit old-fashioned to talk about eating a low-fat diet now, because we're getting so aware of the fact that our bodies actually are keening for fats, but it has to be brought into your body in the right way. So when you actually eat processed food, because the processed food is designed to get pulled through your digestive system so quickly, you don't register that you've eaten the fat. It doesn't sit in your stomach for long enough. You still store it. But your brain doesn't register that you've eaten it. So it is about the way that you eat that are actually clever eating, you might say, cleverly taking in the fats without the processed food interrupting your digestion and interrupting your metabolism and metabolizing the fats. Actually will help you to lose weight. There's a lot of information out there now, and it's becoming really quite commonplace that you take the processed carbohydrates particularly out of your diet, and some other of the more sugary carbohydrates as well, and you will actually become a fat burning machine.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are you listening to this now?
Yes, exactly. Weight loss is easy. It really, really is. When you know how, and you know how to do it, and it's no big secret. There's no big, mystical tricks involved or anything. But eating the right kinds of foods and satisfying that little crave so that you don't give in and eat the rubbish at the end of the day, you will naturally lose weight. It really doesn't take any hard work. It certainly doesn't take any motivation, and it definitely doesn't take any denial. Not at all.
Okay, so I would like to ask you a couple of things.
Yeah.
So as like backing up what we just talked about, which is carbohydrates doesn't help as much, but equally we need to bring in a lot of vegetables. But we mentioned avoid fruit, right? Did I remember? Because you said that fruit has got a lot of glucose or a lot of sugar in it, naturally.
Yeah.
So it is like but there's certain type of fruit like berries that it's okay to have those.
Yeah. It is, and really the basis of it really is we're getting back to a way of eating that we've eaten for thousands of years. So if you imagine mimicking the way that we ate, only just a couple of thousand years ago, we're not talking that long in terms of things. We ate the fruit when it dropped off the trees, and that was it. It wasn't around all year. We didn't have pineapples from Barbados, and we didn't have from the South Seas, and we didn't have fruity, sugary fruits from India. We just had what we ate. So our bodies had sugar at very particular times of the year. If we stumbled across a beehive, always great. So we use sugar as a very rare source of fuel, which is part of the reason why we're actually biologically programmed to seek simple sugars such as the honey and the fruit. We're actually programmed to seek that out because it's meant to be like a rocket fuel for the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to be a very rare, very occasional, huge, big, fat spike of energy that then goes. And then we go back to our original way of eating, which is, you know, the greens above ground, you might say, the very complex greens. Berries, yeah, because berries are very complex, so they don't hit the bloodstream at 100 miles an hour. The sugar doesn't hit the bloodstream, I should say. So we ate a very complex carbohydrate, high fat, high protein diet. We didn't even have potatoes until the 1500s. They didn't even, you know, as far as, you know, us in the northern hemisphere in Europe, we didn't know about potatoes, so we didn't even eat those kind of starchy vegetables. We had, and if we did, they were, you know, they were a part of the diet, but they were a rare part of the diet. So what we're doing is getting back to kind of mimicking what our bodies are very good at doing already. And it's a bit of a myth that we need a lot of carbohydrates, and we don't. And it is very much a bigger myth that we need a wide variety of sugary fruits. We absolutely don't. And if you are somebody that has got a sugar addiction triggered, then the fruit will play that same role for you. You can fire the chocolate out the door and then find yourself eating a pineapple a day. You know, and it's very common. I have clients who in the early days when I first started doing the weight loss therapy a decade ago, clients would get rid of the chocolate and the biscuits and the cakes, and then they come and say that they're having a pineapple every day instead.
And you would think that's a healthier option, though, right? So instead of having, but still the sugar is within the pineapple.
Yeah, it's not a healthy option, not at all. Any benefit that you might get from the vitamins and the phytonutrients, I mean, we do know that there are certain things in pineapple that are really, really good for us, but you can actually find that elsewhere, and you can actually find that in condensed form as well now. But the amount of sugar that you have from that particular food source far outweighs any benefit that you might get from it, really.
Okay, so if it's I'm just trying to say, if somebody really loves pineapple and they can learn how to control their craving and they have only a part of it,
yeah, absolutely.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course it will. You know, we're all grown women now. We can all do what we like. What I would say is having an understanding, and again, it comes back to, you know, having an understanding of your craving, and also, you know, all the mental chatter that's going on around your craving as well. So being a therapist, it's very much about what's going on up here,
yes,
and the kind of persuasive thinking that we have around our craving. So a craving, as far as your nervous system concerned, is equal to an addiction.
Yeah.
Okay, it is equal to addictive behaviours. So if somebody's having a pineapple a day and thinking that they're being healthy, then actually they're not addressing the fact that the reason why they're eating a pineapple every day is for the addictive desire for the sugar. Yeah. And of course, yeah, once they kind of understand that craving and they understand why they're having the pineapple, then giving yourself a bit of pineapple every few weeks as a treat is a lovely thing. But recognizing, and this is one of the big reasons why I wrote the book, is if that you are a sugar addict and you eat sugar, you will want it the next day. And unfortunately, even if you don't have sugar until you're 97, that is going to happen. You are going to be in an addictive cycle with sugar. So eating sugar at a particular time of day for all kinds of different complicated reasons in your body chemistry will trigger that addictive craving sensation the next day. And if you're not aware of what that crave feels like in your nervous system and what's going on for you, then you will just, you know, believe that you're eating the pineapple because it's good for you. And you'll persuade yourself with addictive thinking that the pineapple is good for you. But actually, you're just reaching for the sugar. That's the bottom line on it.
Okay. So, I really, really want to ask you this question. So, I know you developed this system. You call it the Break the Crave system. Okay?
Yes.
So, through your own experience, through your own sort of up and down and your own struggle and your own challenges, and then you somehow you actually something switched on, something you had like aha moment, and you put that into place. And then you try to figure out, and through your research you said, okay, this is how we can actually break through this pattern.
Yes.
So how can we just inspire now those of you who are listening and watching the show to bring that mental sort of the mindset behind it, to understand that more, so you can bring that into, and then you can equally break that pattern.
Well, yeah, and in fact, as I say, when it comes down to it, actually, it is really, really simple. There is a lot to our body chemistry, and there is a lot to the way that our brain works.
Yeah.
And we are complex creatures for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, you know, it is a very holistic approach. So it was pulling in, the psychology, it was pulling in the anatomy and physiology, it was pulling in the nutrition side of things, and pulling it all into place, really. But in a nutshell, how often do we say that? Not so good for us. So what's going on is, as I say, if this part of your brain, it's a little gland called the amygdala, if it senses that you've starved yourself, okay, so this is where the survival element comes from in your nervous system. If your little amygdala senses that you've starved yourself, so you may be able to keep a lid on this urge to, as I call the reaching mechanism, so reach for rubbish at some point in the day. You might well be able to keep a lid on it for a little while, but it comes to a particular time of day when, even if you've decided to be good, you come to often about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
And like, oh, I've worked hard today, or oh, I love that pineapple, it's really good for me, I'm going to eat the whole of that, or what can I eat? You know, what are they eating? Or, you know, what biscuits are left in the cupboard, or whatever that thinking might be. So, you know, so the first part I would say is identifying this crave cycle for yourself, okay? Owning it. Owning the fact that you are in a cycle that you realise is out of your control. So once you do, realising that, you know, you are using, if you like, your conscious mind, the part of your mind that we believe is in control,
mm-hmm.
to support this nervous system feeling, okay? So your amygdala senses that you starved yourself, and it comes to a particular time of day, and you've kept a lid on that amygdala feeling. You know, for whatever reason, you've barely eaten enough calories in the day, or whatever it is, which we often do. If we're sugar girls particularly, we will not eat enough calories in the day to make up for that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you come to a particular time of day, and the amygdala sends this little message into your nervous system. And rather than it being the big stress message, the threat message from a panic attack, or from anxiety, it's like a little tickle, like a little pulling sensation. And that is the power of it, because that sensation goes under the radar.
Okay.
So we believe it's this. We believe we're saying, oh, well, I'm in control. I've decided that I am going to reach for that food, and I'm going to eat it because, you know, I'm celebrating the day the budgie died, or whatever excuse that you might give to yourself. But clearly, this isn't really controlling us. Otherwise, we would go, no, I've decided I'm not going to have that today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a size 10, and that would be that, you know, and we would all move on, right? But we don't, because this is just supporting that little nervous system message. And this is the important thing. The chance then to be able to sit on your own shoulder and to hear what's going on for yourself,
mm-hmm.
realize that actually it's this feeling in your solar plexus, this little tickle, this little pulling, that is creating an irresistible reaching mechanism, as I call it, reaching for that food. And the thing with your nervous system message is that the nerve messages are the speed of light.
Yes.
Which is the fastest thing in the universe.
Yes.
So your amygdala goes, and you're like one of these lizards with a tongue that's out, and it's there. It's in your mouth. And actually, I'll often hear women saying, I'm like, I don't even want that. But it's going in anyway.
Yeah.
So this is how dominantly powerful your nervous system is, because as far as your nervous system is concerned, it's sensed that you're starving to death, which is a very bad thing for your body. So it will override any intentions that you have for yourself of weight loss.
Yeah.
Nothing is more important. So yeah, so I guess by identifying what's going on up here, realizing it's actually part of your physicality, And then knowing that actually in the book there are quite a lot of techniques for being able to just quieten down in your solar plexus, which is why I say it's very simple, because once you're quiet here, you're done. You're done. And there are a lot of insurance policies that you can take out against that happening in the first place. So if you go back to what we were saying, how there are 3 ways to go into crave: eating the processed food, eating sugar, and starving yourself. So conversely, the insurance policies that you would take out would be having a fantastic breakfast, you know, a really good low carb, high fat breakfast, switches on leptin, makes your nervous system feel satisfied, you know, it's the opposite of crave. Firing out the processed food, and if you're a sugar girl, for sure, firing the sugar out as well. And actually then being able to substitute that way of eating with an absolutely glorious way of eating, glorious way of celebrating, you know, enjoying a really, really satisfying, I often say to clients, it's like a sumptuous banquet of all the food that we've been denying ourselves while we've been on these diets for 50 years, where we've starved ourselves, and the pain of it and the emotional distress.
Yeah, it's not fun at all, is it? It's not fun. What I also like to add to our conversation today, Bridgette, is the importance of understanding how stress and worry or anxiety around that, you know, not losing weight or not, you know, not having control over what's happening in your body, how that can affect. Actually, it is because we all see the whole thing in a holistic way, right? So how our emotional health can be affected when we don't know how the whole system works, and we are somehow in denial, or we feel a bit guilty, or you know, and then self-care that doesn't become easy, doesn't become fun, and then it becomes a bit of a struggle. So I guess this is where your system that goes into place. This is where you put this practical guidance, and the promise, you know, the way you can actually have that healthy communication with yourself, that actually you say, I'm going to do it, and this is what the policy is, because then you are creating that container that you don't feel you're on your own. There's something there to help you out. And that's how I see you give that in your book as well. But then people can actually come and work with you, and then they can receive full guidance and full ownership, if you like.
Well, it is exactly that. Yeah, for sure. And I think this is why we have taken so long to wake up, if you like, to what's going on in our nervous system. Is that the traditional diet and denial mentality is that if you are somehow strong enough or you are motivated enough, that you will lose the weight because you will be able to do it. And oh my gosh, you know, usually when there's a woman who's got a determination, she's got a whole family behind her going, oh God, she's going on a diet again, because the cheerleading that has to happen, and the amount of emotional input that this takes from a woman to be able to lose the weight and to keep it off, more importantly, is absolutely huge. So the idea is that if you don't lose the weight, somehow you're a failure, somehow it's your fault because you're not motivated enough. In the weight loss clubs, in society in general, we hold up this one icon of a woman who's managed to lose the weight and keep it off, and she becomes something that every other dieter is meant to aspire to somehow, and if she doesn't manage it, it's her fault.
Yeah.
So clearly, yeah, of course, this saps a woman's self-esteem, self-confidence, and creates body loathing sometimes, creates obsession, creates this, it chips away, it erodes your whole self-confidence to think that you somehow can't do this, that it's your fault. And this is what's happened, and this is why women have been held in this holding pattern of having this strong, firm decision in the morning. You know, I talk in the book about the cheerleader in the morning who beats you up for whatever you ate the day before, and says, if we can do this today, And then, you know, throughout the day, you get chipped away at that until by about 4 o'clock, you have another part of yourself that I call the justifier that kicks in. And she's the one who says, oh, well, we've worked hard. We'll just have a little bit. We'll start the diet on Monday, you know. So there's all of that. But actually, at the root of that, it's a very insidious thing. And I think it's very interesting to me. It's 100 years last week since women got the vote in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are at an unprecedented time in history where we have so much autonomy. We don't have to hand our money over to our husbands anymore. We don't have any of that. And our daughters are inheriting an even better workplace, you know, relationship place. We expect to be treated well in the street. You know, we have this wonderful chance to really expand as human beings. And yet 60% of us are held in this holding pattern of obsession and, you know, eroded self-esteem because they feel that they failed. And it isn't them, and it's never been them, and it's never about them. It's about the food that they've eaten or the lack of calories that their body's taken in. Yeah. And actually, you know, being able to liberate yourself from all of that is just being aware of that. That if you avoid the stuff that causes you pain, and you're able to embrace the food that actually supports your own natural fat burning systems, the weight loss is inevitable, easy, pleasurable, never hungry. This is how we're actually supposed to be. But you know something, we haven't been able to access that information. And I have to say that this is political. There's a lot of money invested in women.
Absolutely.
Their fault, and they're to blame.
Yeah. And we're here to know better, and we're here to educate ourselves, and we're here to hear from people like you yourself, Bridgette, that you stepped up and you say, well, actually, I'm going to do anything I can, raise awareness, and bring this new system into place as you have. I think you have. It's not a new for you because you've used it for a number of years now in your own practice.
Yeah.
So what is the next step up for you? What is what is your vision, if you like? You know, as a woman, that you, as an author, as a therapist, what's your vision?
Okay, that's really interesting. Wow. Okay, my vision. Well, it really is to just get this message out there. I've been running online groups for a little while, and I think I'd really like to be able to open the online groups up. So there are two that I've been running for a couple of years. One that's Kick the Sugar, which is just, you know, it's a very quick, it's only 5 days, and people come and they go through this system, and they have, you know, the therapy, being a hypnotherapist as well. As you realise that, yeah, changing your way of eating is lovely, but we have to address 50 years of diet mentality, which can be very difficult for a lot of women. So being able to open the online groups up for sure, and more online programs so that people can access this, they can go through it themselves. They don't, you know, it's lovely. I do have women who come to see me on a one-to-one basis, but actually owning this, as you say, having ownership of your own triggers, what your own likes are, what your own routines are, can happen without me having to be there for sure. Yeah. I don't have to be in the same room, and this is why I decided to write the book, because this is the kind of the doorway in, if you like, the stepping in the doorway to actually having that understanding. And yeah, there have been women who fed back to me already saying, oh my gosh, I've never read this before. So yeah, to be able to access this online and to just have the word spread, I think it is happening organically anyway. It is. Yeah.
And it's going to happen also. It's going to be sort of supported or backed up, you know, by including you being contributing in the book of Soulful Musings, because then in this way there's another platform there that your message and your story, your expertise is going to be part of this wonderful selection of meaningful conversation I had over the last 8 years with all of you holistic well-being therapists, including myself.
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. We are at this time, aren't we, where women are really taking ownership of their own mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health, you know, and looking more and more outside of the paradigms of you know, the health service, or, you know, the other kind of, you know, industries that have traditionally in the last 50 years or so given women what they believe to be the truth about things, but women are actually seeking it out for themselves now, aren't they, and taking ownership of that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing that you're doing.
Thank you, and thank you for being on the show today, Bridgette. And look forward to seeing you sometime soon. I know you won't be able to be with us at the pre-launch, but you will be there in spirit, I know. And also, your book will be part. It will be part of the showcasing of all the books participating authors on the World Book Day celebration, and then the. Luckily, you know, hopefully I will be able to announce the publish, you know, when the book is going to be published in May. This year, 2018. Yes.
I'd work to be there for the launch in May for sure.
Yes. No, not to be missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the chance to be able to talk about this and to spread the word. And so, yes, as far as my vision's concerned, I just see women spreading the word for themselves, because that's what we do. We empower other women. We wish them well, and we want to see women thrive and flourish and succeed, and, you know, let go of that obsessive mentality so that we can get on with the job of the day, of being as powerful as we can be.
And the way I can describe it is complete freedom. You know, it's I think that's what it is. You know, let's embrace more of the opportunities to feel free, because that's what we're destined to be. We're destined to be free and enjoy life.
Yeah.
Celebrate every single one of us and every single one of you.
Absolutely.
So lots of love from me, Chrisoula, Sirigou, the Golden Muse, and from my guest today, Bridgette Hamilton.